Okay, we're on YouTube. Oh my gosh, not back on YouTube. I started filming a TikTok. For those of you who don't know, I am over on TikTok. I am Silly Goose Society. I teach people how to be silly geese. It's what I do. My phrase, I like to say, I was bad at life, then I got good at life, now I teach other people how to be good at life. And that's a sticky saying. I don't like using good and bad, and I don't typically judge good and bad, specifically when it comes to doing things in life, but it is something that I say to help people understand the process that I take people through of going from I feel like bad to being good. That's it. So I started making a TikTok. It got a little long, and then I was like, this is a YouTube video. Comparison is the thief of joy. Everybody says it. It's a cliche. What is it? Avoid cliches like the plague. I disagree with that. It's a cliche for a reason, so let's unpack it. I started talking about this, and I thought this is something that needs to be on YouTube. An oak tree and a maple tree. An oak tree doesn't sit and look at a maple tree and think, why is nobody collecting my sap? Why doesn't anybody want to consume my sap? The only difference between trees and humans is our brain. It's our ability to process consciousness. Trees don't have brains, so they can't compare themselves and judge themselves. At least that we know of. It could be my own judgment. I'm sitting here looking at trees and now I'm thinking, I'm sorry, tree, because maybe you do judge yourself and you deserve to love yourself exactly as you are. Maybe that tree does judge himself. I don't know, herself. Do trees have gender? Somebody chime in on that. Anyways, I swear there's a point to this. A maple tree and an oak tree, assuming they don't have consciousness and they don't have a way to process consciousness, a brain, the oak doesn't look at the maple tree and think to itself, why doesn't anybody want my sap? Why isn't anybody eating my sap? Everybody drinks maple sap, but they don't drink my sap. This isn't something that an oak tree does. And the simple reason is really because an oak tree doesn't care. Because an oak tree doesn't have a brain. And neither does a maple tree. A maple tree is not looking over at the oak tree and thinking, wow, that oak tree is so tall, I wish I could grow that tall. Because I think, historically speaking, biologically, scientifically, I don't know. What am I saying? Oak trees are bigger, usually, I think, than maple trees. The maple tree is not sitting there thinking, wow, I wish I was as tall as that oak tree, because the maple serves its own purpose and the oak tree serves its own purpose, and they both just exist and they don't think about it. The difference between us and the trees is that we have the ability to think, but the thinking isn't what makes us who we are. The thinking is just something that we can do because our organisms allow it. The organism of being a human, right? This is an organism. This is what I am. Functions with a brain, and the brain itself has the capacity to process consciousness at a high degree of awareness. At least most human brains. There are some that can't. That's the difference, is that we are aware of ourselves. We can see ourselves. We can see ourselves. We can see our body. We are aware of our body. We can create. We can do more than just a tree. So it becomes complicated. We think it becomes complicated. Now, the other situation is that an oak tree and a maple tree live in a system that is usually harmonious, so they serve a purpose within their ecosystem. Granted, people are now planting trees in places where they shouldn't, too close to houses, too far away from other trees so they don't get adequate water and shade. So in a lot of ways, these trees suffer because of their environment, which is not dissimilar to humans. Humans have been put into a system that was specifically created. Let's talk specifically about Western culture, because this is where I live in Western culture. We have been put into this system that was built historically to create workers and taxpayers so that some people get to be wealthy and some people don't, and we judge that and we make that a problem. Our brains make that a problem. Granted, sure, it literally has been proven that brains and human beings and consciousness thrive in small tribes and those sorts of things, but a lot of us can't change the fact that we are in absurdly large tribes and things have gone too far. So what do we do with this? We are stuck here. We're comparing my tree to your tree, me to you. We're comparing ourselves. We live in a society where we don't really fit into the system because the system was built to create workers. And now so many people are like, whoa, I don't feel good about being a worker. What do you mean I have to pay taxes? So there's this ecosystem that was man-made that doesn't work. And we're this complicated organism run by a very simple spirit that is trying really hard. Well, not trying really hard, it just is. But you just have to be with it. The same way that a maple and an oak, they just are. And they just accept it. Now, certain maples and oaks, and this is obviously, the analogy can only go so far. You put an oak in the wrong environment, it's not going to do well. So what do? It's not going to grow as tall. So now it's one thing that it had going for it, it's no longer working there because it's in the wrong environment. You can move environments. A lot of times we can create our own environment here, where we are. And that's kind of the difference with our consciousness, is that we can create a safe, nourishing space within ourselves so that no matter what's going on out here, in here can stay center. We have a baseline. That baseline is the truth. It is safe. It is home. And no matter how turbulent out here is, in here feels free. I know that sounds frustrating because you're thinking, I won't feel free until this is changed. I won't feel free until I look like that person. I won't feel free until this person stops doing this. I get it. Let's go back to comparison. The oak and the maple both serve a purpose. Right now in society, in the system that we're living in for these trees, people like the maple better because they get something from the maple. So the oak feels bad about itself because that one thing about the maple just happens to work in this really weird system. And people are ignoring, they're taking for granted what the oak has to offer. The maple is getting sucked dry, which you will see happens to a lot of people who are very loving, nurturing, affirming. They get sucked dry. People who work hard, people who do well in school, people who get good jobs, they're getting sucked dry by the system because they fit in it, because they found a place that worked for them. So they're getting sucked dry. And then you're on the other end, and you're this oak, you're tall, but it doesn't really serve a purpose right now. And the only real way that being tall as an oak serves a purpose is long planks of wood, so you get cut down. Finding your place in this world requires knowing that you are enough exactly as you are. Just because the world wants maple syrup doesn't make the maple tree more valuable. It makes the maple tree fit into a society that's full of takers. But the oak tree is stunning. It's a work of art. You stand back and you look at an oak tree and you're like, wow, that's beautiful. I don't know. I don't know what other purposes an oak tree serves, but it just serves to the point. It's shade. Maybe it's the tallest tree in the forest. And so it gives a lot of shade to shorter plants, whatever it does in the ecosystem. Somebody inform me. I am not a biologist by any means. Just because somebody fits into the society and has something that the world can take from it doesn't mean that you are not enough. And it doesn't mean that they are more than you. And it doesn't mean that they are less than you either. We're all on this even playing field, but some of us don't have what it takes to fit in. And so we find other ways. And what a treat, because there's other places to fit into. There's a flying ant right in front of me. I've been seeing them everywhere. What's up with the flying ants? There is a place for everybody. And I know that's hard to believe. I can't stop thinking about this ant. Weird. There is a place for everybody. It's hard. It could be hard to believe. I've been there. But there is a place for everybody. There's a job for everybody. There's a purpose for everybody. And for those of you who are so stuck in comparison and you're looking and you're like, none of these jobs are right for me. None of any of this is right for me. I can't find friends. I can't find this. I can't find that. I beg you to slow down. Be with yourself. Feel yourself. Lean into your joy. Lean into that which makes you feel good. But you can't do this quickly. And I'm going to tell you why. Drugs and alcohol make people feel good for a moment, but there's an aftermath. When you do, let's say when you drink alcohol, if you have one drink every hour, the alcohol goes out of your blood every 2 hours, something like that. So let's say you have 3 drinks. So you're drunk for 6 hours. You're intoxicated for 6 hours. I'm just using random numbers and figures. The next day, maybe you're hungover. Maybe you have a headache. Go slow. Don't talk to anybody. Go slow. See what you're feeling. Unworthy, shame, depressed, lonely. You start to think unkindly about yourself. How long does that last? Probably longer than 6 hours. But everybody's in such a rush, right? So they can't feel into what has really happened to them. So when I say do things that make you feel good, I'm not just talking about in the moment that you're doing them. When you lean into that kind of joy, that kind of satisfaction, pleasure, peace, something that really makes you feel good, that's where you find what you're supposed to do. When you're in a rush, you can't really feel how something is affecting you. You can only feel it while you're doing it. Once it's done, it's gone, you moved on. Part of the society that we live in forced us to move quickly. We had to wake up. A lot of people go to the gym before they go to work. Not everybody. So you go to the gym or you have your morning coffee, you have some breakfast, you're off to work, you have to get your kids to school, daycare, then you're off to work. You go to work. You get your lunch break, you have to eat, and then somebody comes and talks to you and whatever. And then you have something after school, your kids, or after work, your kids have after school activities, you have a meeting, you have, I don't know, maybe that's when you go to the gym, maybe you have your own sports teams that you go to, and then you pick up your phone to scroll, and then you put on a TV show, and you're never being. You're always going, and you're never being. So you don't really know if life actually feels good to you because you're not feeling what it is to be alive. You're just going from one thing to the next. Comparison only steals your joy because you can't see what you have. How can you see what you have if you're always doing something? Because you can't look at yourself if you're always looking at everything else. And really, truly, to look at yourself is only just to look at your body, is only just to look at your personality. You can't really truly look at yourself because yourself is only looking, it's only seeing. And so you're observing what your body feels is right. You're observing what your brain feels is good. But you have to slow down to tap into that, or else you'd never know that doing cocaine all night means waking up in the morning feeling like dog shit. Then you're depressed for days on end, making everybody's life living hell because of it. The true thief of joy, the true reason for suffering is believing that something should be other than it is, instead of accepting how it is. And if you believe you should be different than how you are, you'll always live life like that, but you'll never be fully happy or satisfied. I'm not telling you to quit your job. I'm not telling you to stop going to the gym. I'm not telling you what to do at all. I don't care what you do. I'm telling you that all you have to do is be. That's it. It's that easy. Slow down, feel into it. That's it. The oak tree just is, and the maple tree just is. They serve their purpose. Nobody cares. The oak tree doesn't care that people want the syrup from the maple more. The oak tree is loved because it just is. And to be loved is just to be. It's just to be, because the ego might not always like you. The egos that you run into might not always like you. And the greatest act of love that somebody can do is if they don't like you, they leave you. That is loving. Have you ever tried to spend time with somebody who doesn't like you? It is an act of love to be left, because that person doesn't want to be around you. What a blessing. That's love. If it seems like nobody wants you, that's love. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. People are doing you an act of love by leaving you, by showing you that it's safe to reject, that it's safe to leave situations that you don't enjoy. You have to really love yourself. And to really love yourself is just to be yourself. You just have to be yourself. And to be yourself is just to be. Because there is no yourself. You just are. You just are. You're doing really well, whether you're an oak tree or a maple. Don't let them suck you dry. Don't let them tell you that you're not valuable. And don't ever think about yourself that you're not valuable. And if you do think that way, I've been there, It's not true. It's just a voice. And voices can change. If you feel lost, if you feel confused, if you're trying to find your way, if you feel like you're bad at life and you want to be good at life, message me. Let's chat. I don't want to help a million people. I don't think I can. But if I can help one person today, I guess that's all I could ask for. I love you. You're doing wonderful. Peace and love.